I do not believe that there is one perfect person out there for you. I think there's...
I'm offended? Oh my...
No.
Wow. How old were we when we first met, and when did we get married?
We actually met in a youth group. Good place to
come
meet
on,
somebody.
let's go.
But I think we actually started dating, although we had known each other for a little while before that, when I was 16 and Amelia was 17. And then we got married when we were both 21, after both of us had finished school. Some long distance actually, while Amelia was away at Bible college, and then we made the decision to get married. So Amelia, why do you think there is so much pressure around relationships in high school?
I think relationships become a status thing in high school. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, that person's in a relationship or that person's in a relationship. And it's really about your status, right? That maybe if you're dating somebody or if you're in a relationship with somebody or if you're making out with somebody or whatever, then that is like a status thing for you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why there's pressure. One of the questions we got in, classic question, is dating bad?
So I think there's kind of two answers to this. First of all, dating isn't bad at all. I would argue that you actually have to do it. You need to figure out who you're compatible with. You need to figure out what your likes and your dislikes are, and I think dating is part of that. You can't just go from single to married. Like, you need to have some in between where you figure out who you are with another person and with a partnership, and figure out who you actually want to be with. But I think that there are times where dating can certainly be bad. And I think all those times are when you're using dating to fulfill something else in your life. Maybe you don't think your mom and your dad love you, or maybe you're trying to be popular or cool. I think that any time that you're using dating for something other than for like the healthy relationship as the end goal, it's gonna be a bad idea for you. The next question is, how can you be content being single when everyone else is in a relationship?
I think this one's all about just putting God first in our life. And if we embrace the vision that God has for our life, then we can make the most of the moment we're in right now. Do you believe in soulmates? So, in other words, is there one perfect person out there for you?
I do not believe that there is one perfect person out there for you. I think there's...
I'm offended? Oh my...
No.
Wow.
I think there are certainly going to be people that you are going to be naturally more attracted to. I think there are certain people that you're naturally going to get along with better. That'll make things easier later, of course, but after that, I think it's up to you. And honestly, you're going to end up choosing this person. You know, you really do choose them. Love is a choice in the end, and you're gonna have to wake up and choose them every single day for the rest of your life if you end up getting married, if that's your end game. And if you do believe that there is one person out there for you,
you're wrong.
No, I just caution it.
How do you know when you found the one?
If you get along with them really well, you're attracted to them, and you're in a healthy relationship, and you grow together, and you've spent a long time together, you're trusting this person, and you have the same goals. That's what I'd call the one, you know? So I think this one's really important. So listen up. Why do you think sex before marriage is a no-go?
Okay, so one of the things that we believe in Christianity is that God created sex specifically for the institution of marriage, and that the best place for sex to happen is within a marriage relationship. And the reason we believe that is because sex is really, really powerful. There's a lot of emotion behind sex. There's a lot of physical consequences to sex. And I don't mean consequences in a bad way, right? But I mean things happen from sex. Babies, right? The best place for sex to happen is in a loving relationship and in a marriage covenant. And a marriage covenant that says, I'm gonna be with you no matter what, and I'm gonna care for you no matter what, I'm gonna believe the best for you no matter what. And when you have sex in that context, sex is so much better, and it's actually freeing, right? Because you can be yourself around that person. You don't need to be ashamed of anything around that person. You can just be you. So when we talk about the Bible's view of sex, that's what we really mean, that God really wants our sex life to be the best possible, and the best possible way to have sex is within the context of marriage. Should you get married just because you're horny, Em?
No. How far, we're talking sexually, is too far, would you say?
Yeah, I think the question, how far is too far, is the wrong question, and I know that that's literally the thing everyone wants to know. It's like, what can I do with my significant other? You really have to figure this out between you and God, right? Like, everybody wants to know like where the line is, do you know what I mean? And I would actually encourage you to spend some time with God in prayer and saying like, God, like, where is the line? How far is too far? We're often asking the question of the wrong person. We're asking the question of me, the pastor, to try to kind of give you validation, right? But you should really be asking the question about God. Like, you should be like, God, like, how far is too far. And one of the things you'll find is God is often like, come closer to me. Instead of asking how far is too far, get closer to God, right? I think a good question to follow this up is, if your line is different than your partner's line, which line should you stay to?
You should never be going farther than one person is comfortable with. It's never okay to take advantage of your partner because you say, oh, well, my line's just farther. No, their line is further back, so you are never allowed to cross it.
What do you do if your guy has sexual experiences in the past? Maybe they watched porn or they had other sexual partners in the past. How do you deal with the effects of those sexual experiences?
First thing I would think about is understand that there is brokenness in the world and your partner might have some sort of past, and that there is gonna need to be some grace in your situation. But I also think that the other side of that is that you have the responsibility to bring health into that relationship, and that it needs to be a healthy relationship. You cannot be brought down by the other person, but you actually need to bring light into that situation.
Why do you think, Em, it's so hard to find someone that you like, but they're also a Christian?
What are you actually looking for? Is what you're looking for somebody who's actually a good Christian? Or are you saying, I want somebody to be a good Christian, but what I really want is they're really popular, they have a really good Instagram,
They have nice abs.
they have nice abs, whatever it is. What are you actually looking for? Which is to wait, be patient, work on you, because you know what? I think sometimes you get really focused on finding a partner. Maybe you've seen really healthy relationships modeled by your parents or something like that. And that's what you want. You crave that love and you crave that good relationship, and that's awesome. But the reality is you can't force that, and it won't be a healthy relationship if you do. So wait, be patient, and things are coming.
Emily, this is a fun one. Are dirty DMs bad? Like, is sexting bad?
Yes, it's bad. Well, actually, no. Okay. It's
Yes,
just,
but no.
It's actually just dumb. So you actually need to think about what you're doing. Is it healthy? Is it good for your relationship? Is doing that attracting the person? Like, let's say you're sliding in random into some DMs. Is that the type of person you want to attract? And also they're out there forever. So just don't do it. It's dumb. How do you know if your partner trusts you, and how do you learn to trust your partner?
I think trust is something that takes a long time to develop, right? Trust is something that you don't gain overnight. It actually takes years and years and years to develop. So if you're having a hard time trusting your partner, then it really means that you need to just spend more time with that person.
There is the possibility that if you don't trust your partner, maybe you shouldn't. And that's okay too. And maybe that's a time where you do break up. And that's just me being honest.
When do you know when to hit the escape button and just peace? You're done. Get out of the relationship.
Oftentimes when I'm talking to people who are church people, like maybe you've been a Christian for a long time, I find that those are the types of people who end up staying in a relationship too long. You know what? I think sometimes we model our relationships after parts of the Bible that are really meant for married people. I think a lot of Christians will say, tough it out, work on it, no matter what. You've chosen this person, so you've got to push through this. That's not true when you're just dating somebody. If you're married, yes, you need to work on your problems, you need to figure things out.
You're locked in.
You're locked in, but when you're dating, you're not locked in yet, and that's the whole point. You are dating to get to know that person, and if that person isn't right for you, then you need to leave, and that's totally okay. Maybe you don't have the same goals in mind or anything like that. Exit, and don't be afraid to exit. The other part of that is if you exit at the first sign of anything, like let's say you don't like the way she moves her hair sometimes when she's talking, you gotta relax, you've gotta work through some things, otherwise you're never gonna have a lasting relationship. How do you set boundaries, Amelia?
Find somebody you trust, get a notebook, write them down, commit to them personally.
And decide them before you're in the situation. Because if you decided to pick boundaries once things are already happening, it's a lot harder to know when to stop. Talk about those boundaries with your partner before they come up. Don't beat around the bush or anything like that. Tell them early and have a discussion, because if you're not mature enough to talk about it, you're not mature enough to do it.
The people want to know, when are you ready to date?
You're ready to date when you can handle the responsibility that it is. You've got another person's emotions and a lot of their life in your hands, and that actually has a lot of responsibility whether you realize it or not. So are you ready if somebody breaks your heart? Like, what if you really, really like this person, they're your dream person, you thought they were the one, and then they break your heart? Are you ready for that? And are you ready for some of the things that come along with dating, like marriage? Oops, you got married? Like, things like that. You have to be ready for the responsibility that it brings to the world and the consequences that it brings to you.
Okay, last question. Emily, How do you have difficult conversations in a relationship?
First of all, you just have to do it. If you aren't saying how you're really feeling, the other person can't know. Don't get angry at them for not knowing if you haven't told them. But also, that being said, if you're kind of the opposite type of person, like maybe you're the type of person who's gonna steamroll in a relationship and you're gonna be like going in guns blazing every time and you're like, it's good to fight or anything like that, remember to be kind to your partner and that it should be a discussion. Don't go in guns blazing, learn from each other. Talk about everything, but be kind when you're talking about it.
Totally. Have fun in your small groups, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
What's the best way to kiss?
Oh, that's actually your question. What's the best way to kiss?
So here's what you do. You take your tongue and go like this.
And then you'll be rejected forever and you'll never kiss anybody again.